Okay guys, it's time for another round of Crappy and Trollpastas. And trust me when I say we got a ton to get through, so let's start with our first one. The Rockos Modern Life theory is, well, pretty shitty. And it has bad grammar, has non-logical logic to it, and it just says that everyone is now in hell, even though they've done nothing to warrant to go to hell. This is pretty bizarre to read, but it's pretty enjoyably bad, and there is a lot to talk about, and I forgot what I was going to talk about, so let's just talk about the story. Rocko and his friends are in hell. Just think of all the bad things that happened to them and how it has no impact. This couldn't happen in the real world. Rocko, as a young boy, was abandoned by his mother, left alone to starve. Then humans took him into a very bad condition zoo, in which they did feed him or clean him, so he starved to death, and his body was dragged back into the wilderness, where his body was left to rot. Hive was a farm pig, and lived happily on the farm. He was fed, cleaned, and had space to roam. But once a terrible disease came over him, the farmer moved, leaving Hive to die, carrying the disease. As Hive wandered, looking for a home, the disease got to his brain, which made him more inbred. He soon died with his ribs visible, as if he'd never eaten before. This is why he has yellow skin, and why he has a bad eating habit, and why he is a little inbred. Filbert was a zoo turtle. He came into the zoo when Rocko died. Filbert lived with several other turtles, and the zookeepers decided that they had to get rid of one of the turtles. They decided to get rid of Hilbert, but nobody would take him. The only thing they could do was to leave Hilbert in the wilderness, and so they did. Hilbert wasn't used to the wilderness, and so he had nothing to eat or drink. One day he came across a snake, which BT him, causing him to bleed rapidly. He faced the blood to the sun, hoping it would dry off. The sun burnt his eyes, and he died by bleeding to death. Finally, the two big heads were frogs, living in the pond in a peaceful forest. They lived happily in the pond, until a scientist came along. He decided he wanted to use them as experiments. The experiment almost killed them and mutated them. The scientist wanted to put them out of their misery, so he shot them, both dead. This is why they are both so crotchety, and why they always want to be somewhere peckful. All of them went to hell for reasons unknown, and they never spoke of the tragic past. Spunky was given to Rocko as a punishment, but they soon came over that fact, and became friends. Many of the other characters are too our punishments for Rocko and his friends. Perhaps this is what hell will be. Well, this one's even worse than the last one. How? Well, apparently Finn killed a lot of people, or at least it's implied. And then we see Ice King, who is dead. And then Finn, who apparently killed everyone, or every monster, or whatever, realizes he has no one else to kill, so he commits suicide. The end. Also Jake tells him, "You fucker, you killed everyone," so there you go, he killed everyone. Makes no sense, but it is kind of funny and how horrible it is. On a side note, who made this episode? That's left to the viewers to decide. I loved Adventure Time so much. It was my favorite show, until I ran across a lost episode. So I was watching an Adventure Time episode on my computer. It was the episode Lady and Pebbles. However, halfway through the episode, something popped up. It was a download link. On the link it said, "Adventure Time, watch Lost, Finn and Simon AVI." Okay, maybe it was a lost episode. When the episode started, the song was backwards, and there was no sign of any character but Finn. There was faint whispering. Also, the animation was sort of crappy. It was probably just a thing in lost episodes. After the theme played, it started with Finn crying, with no sign of any characters like Jake, Ice King, PB, BMO, Gunter, no one. Now he had a creepy smile. He was laughing and talking to a baby doll. "I killed them all!" he laughed. I could hear Jake screaming, "Finn, you fucker!" Finn grabbed his sword and cut the baby doll's head off and asked him if the baby liked having his head cut off. Finn went traveling in the land of Ooh. I noticed that there was no other character and was scared at what I had just saw. It was Ice King, stabbed to death. The blood was so hyper-realistic. There were no monsters, so Finn decided to grab his sword and kill himself. The episode ended with Stack. I did not watch Adventure Time anymore. Ever watch any of the Saw movies? Well, if you watched the 6th one, you would realize why the 7th one was the last, because apparently according to this story, there was actual deaths on set, and that's why it apparently stopped after the 7th movie, even though this all happened during the production of the 6th movie. Apparently, with everyone filming other things, other people were dying somehow. I guess there was this mystical bullshit going around, killing people, and that's never explained, so what can I say? This is pretty damn stupid. And trust me, if everyone was dead on Saw 6, then Saw 7 would have been made, and we would have heard of all these deaths. Unless there's cloning involved, in which case I don't think there would even be a 7th movie, because I've heard clones don't act exactly the way they should, or at least they don't. They're different from their original counterparts. I'm just rambling, aren't I? This sucks. Ever wonder why they stopped the production of the Saw movies? Here's the story. I was an intern working at the production of Saw 6. I was mainly helping the victims of Jigsaw's games safely survive the traps, but not look like it in the movie. Basically, I was one of those helper guys. I was helping a victim go through a game where she had to cut her hand off, when suddenly we heard a scream from the steam room, then a splurch. Most of the guys ran over to check the scene, and the thing that was supposed to be chasing the man had come to life. She was no longer a woman anymore. Suddenly she stopped and fell down the steam room. After that, before our very eyes, words came upon the glass. "Can you survive?" One of the interns immediately committed suicide by jumping down from where we were atop the steam room. "Wait, so if these things are becoming real," another says, "follow me." We ran to the Needle Pit. The man and the woman were practicing the woman's fallen. "Stop! Don't let..." The director stopped as the man looked to the side, dropping the woman to the Needle Pit. "Oh!" she screamed, blood already all over her body. "Now look what you did, you bastard!" One of the interns screamed at the man. "Me? You distracted me long enough to let her go! Besides, it's all fake." The director looked down. "Really?" The woman was now literally covered in blood. If she was stabbed anymore, she would pass out and then eventually die. The man followed the director's gaze. "Oh my god," he said quietly. "Oh my god. The carousel trap!" They ran to the carousel room to find the victims dead. The hanging room! Also dead. They looked at every single trap scheduled to be in the movie. The victims dead. Suddenly, the TV flashed on with a single sentence.
"I want to play a game."
Suddenly, the intern staying next to me died, followed by the man who let the woman go. Then I disappeared. The others probably died. Hopefully. I really have fun playing my games with them. Do you? I want to play a game with you. Okay, now this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Kirbys Deadland. I've heard of this story so many times, and it's as bad as you know of it. And it has Kirby, for no reason, in the game, killing people, and there's blood and gore, and all the crap you would expect, and mutilation, and apparently this game was working fine prior to the protagonist playing it again, and for no reason, it starts going completely haywire. Apparently the parents didn't notice this, spoiling the kid, and it just ends with the kid not playing that game anymore. I mean, he'll play any game on the Wii that happens to have Kirby, but just not that one specific game. Let me think. Can you call Nintendo on this? Could you record footage? Could you do anything to prove your case? Nope. Okay. I guess we'll just never play it again. I guess it really wasn't a big deal in the long run. It just had Kirby pretty much not only mutilating and killing people, but also taking bipods and literally stitching it to his own body to work. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you rip someone else's legs or cut off somebody's leg and stick it up to your number of legs, I'm pretty sure I'll make you walk again. I don't know why they think that would be scary, because it's kind of like a laugh riot in this case. It's like a drinking game. Take a shot for every time someone mentions blood and gore, because not even a minute in, you'll be dead. One day, in September of 2012, my parents were at work and I was home alone. I decided to take out an old game, Kirby's Return to Deadland. I was ready for a wave of nostalgia. I popped in the disc and hit start. Now the first thing to strike me as odd was that when the intro played, Kirby was missing and the rest of the characters did a normal animation, acting as if Kirby was there. As I reached the title screen, Kirby was still MIA, even though missing in action. I ignored it and started a new game. The beginning cutscene was normal. Everything was fine until I entered Cookie Country. As I entered the first level, the enemies looked sad, and I swear that they had tears in their eyes as they died. It only got worse from there. The enemies started looking sadder and had fresh tears that bled realistic blood. As I got to the boss, I chose the fire copy ability. The color was crimson red. As I climbed down the ladder, I screamed at what I saw. Wispy woods had glowing red eyes, with blood pouring out of the eyes and mouth. Pieces of bark were torn off, and the leaves were stained with blood. A text box appeared in red oozing letters. It read, I was shocked at the evil little smile on the cute pink marshmallow's face. As I did a fire attack on the tree, the rest of the bark was burned to ashes. The smooth surface was tainted with blood. He shook the leaves and those spiked enemies fell out splattered with blood. They looked determined to kill Kirby. As I defeated Whispery, he fell over and his roots tore out of the ground with blood to follow. Kirby did his happy dance to new music. The same repeated for the rest of the areas, especially the morbid looking bosses. But Lando was the worst. Its eyes were black sockets with tears streaming from them. Blood stained its whole body. Kirby, I shall not let you. Let him do what? As I entered the second phase of the battle, I heard a roar from the speakers. I stared horrified as they left a makeshift body to decay as organs of blood soon fell out. It only took a few blows to defeat it. The screen cut to black. I didn't get scared because it happens all the time. I thought it would stay like that after a few minutes of waiting. I was about to shut off the Wii when something popped up. I shrieked. Kirby had an eerie grin with blood stinging his fang-like teeth. The arms of Wild D were stitched to his body. The legs of King Diddy and the wings of Meta Knight were stitched too. A text box appeared that read in the red oozing letters, You're next. I screamed again as I heard the story laugh. The intro came with Kirby missing and morbid characters. The warp star was also stained with blood. The title read in the same text, Kirbys Deadland. As my parents walked through the door, I ran and hugged them, tears streaming down my face. Since then, I was never able to play that game. So far, the anniversary game has been going well, but I refuse to do that Dreamland part. Well, this one is an interesting story. It's a Donkey Kong game, and it's about a satanic code in a driving game on the Nintendo 64. It's pretty straightforward. If you type this code in, well, it just results in a bunch of weird oddities going on during the game. And not as much satanic stuff as you would imagine. No demonic rumbling or music or whatever. And it doesn't result in all the characters getting mutilated as far to my knowledge, or as far as I can remember, and it just results in the ending of the game saying, well, all this has happened, and that's the story, and I hope this didn't inconvenience you. Now let's never mention this again. The end. Pretty much to that extent. So yeah, this is a pretty silly story, and hopefully you guys will enjoy. The time was right for me to go through my classic Nintendo 64 games. At this time, most games were being ported, remade, emulated, or brought back to us today, but instead, I just decided to use my Diddy Kong Racing cartridge that I had once been as a child, with all levels, characters, etc. Then I had also realized that I had an unopened Game Shark Nintendo 64 that my relatives gave me for Christmas. But now I realize what Game Shark is and what its functions are. So I decided, hey, maybe I could use those cheats for DKR. I got onto my computer and went to Google to type in Diddy Kong Racing Game Shark codes. I had come across this one interesting site that had a whole variety of codes, such as infinite bananas, or even cheats you could already use in-game within its own code system. Then I looked for the Game Shark exclusive codes and came across one in particular called entitled Satan, and I wondered what that was about. So I loaded my Game Shark and typed that long code to Diddy Kong Racing cartridge. When I started the game, everything seemed fine until I got to the character select screen. My select cursor was on the clock TT, but it wouldn't let me move it over to another character. I thought maybe the controller was broken, but everything checked out fine with it. So when I chose TT, he just remained silent, though the joyous music continued to play. I decided to bring him to the tracks, and out of random, I chose Fossil Canyon. Though when I chose what vehicle to play, I could only use the plane. The options for the car and hovercraft were eliminated somehow. The race began as usual, though the third person's perspective was not showing my character. It was almost as if someone was driving on TT's shoulder and he was soaring through the level like Superman, but that didn't make it any more difficult, so I just played through. The characters all got off the starting line as I did, and for the most part of the race, I was in last place, until I found one of those orange-red rings you could fly through to get a boost on the plane. However, for some reason, it was no ring at all. When I approached it, it looked like I was going to some solar eclipse looking object. Once I went through it, the boost effect worked, though instead of hearing the boost sound, it made a different sound that sounded like a giant clock bell being struck. Then the music continued after the boost had finished, but I noticed one thing. The characters were all gone from the track. None of them had even finished the Fossil Canyon track. I was so confused. Where did they all go? I felt maybe it was a glitch from using Game Shark, but it had to be more serious than that. But when I crossed the finish line after the final lap, the finish line you would normally hear at the end was not heard, and instead, a deeper and more frightening version of Pig's laugh could be heard. This is where I began to panic. I knew the Game Shark's hacking could mean some serious business, though I really wondered if any cheat device could cause this all to occur. So I returned to the tracks menu and chose different tracks to play on, and the characters had still vanished, so I decided to play the adventure mode with this Satanic TT. When I went to select the game file to play, the file's name, which was once my initials, was now TTX. I assumed the TT stood for TT, and the X could have meant Satan. The joyous island music that played did not play. The whole area was dead silent. Not even the birds or frogs could be heard, nor was Tosh the elephant anywhere to be found. I thought I could somehow summon Tosh by hawking at the big circle in the middle of the field, but instead I got this big message that came up saying, "There is no hope, Tosh." Now I was creeped out. I took a ride around the area and noticed TT had still remained in the lobbies. I walked over to talk to him, and he said something along the lines of, I immediately rushed out to down Demon lobby where I talked to him. The giant Rizpig head where you first raised Rizpig had been closed, but the ice still lit up, and its eyes tend to follow you every time you enter the main field. I took the Saiyan TT character to Future Funland, and noticed I could still access the second Rizpig door. I had talked to the FFL lobby TT, and all he had to say was, "There's only death to purify the world and its inhabitants." And that completely made no sense to me, but was still a bit creepy. I went through the second Rizpig door, but instead of there being Rizpig to crash through the rocks, it was the life-size Satan TT who blasted his way to the starting line, making a sort of Godzilla roar. The race began. The race was not all normal though. The Satan TT I was racing looked exactly and flew exactly the way mine did. Though when we approached the iron balloons, each balloon was a still shot of each playable character floating in air, and once you hit a balloon, you would hear a sort of messed up audio sound of their own character voices, as if they're being tortured or murdered. The IMs worked regularly though. After a few tries, I eventually managed to defeat the massive Saiyan TT. When I defeated him, music came out that sounded like the angry Aztec lobby from Donkey Kong 64. Then the text appeared. The screen fades to black for about 13 seconds. The Donkey Kong Racing startup screen loaded, and everything worked okay again. You could select your own character, and TT was no longer Satan TT. When I selected a character, however, the message that was supposed to come up was replaced with this text. Mythology, I have taken that, and it will come to you that you can have ultimate power. Now play your game, and let's forget this ever occurred. The end. Well, I got another story based on this person who keeps messaging me on YouTube on these videos about wanting me to do another pasta of his. And we got Lukinspire.exe, and it's pretty straightforward. So it looks like a very, very silly kind of pasta, if you can even call it that. And yeah, you get what you expect pretty much. It's just, how do I say this nicely? Bunch of grammar issues, pretty much a bunch of stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. People dying and suddenly coming back to life, thinking you died in a video, and suddenly that person's out of the video coming to kill you, or attack you at least. And the story itself, and keep in mind it's on my phone, so it looks a little bit different. It ends with the Zalgo kind of, or Zygo, whatever you want to call it, kind of coding. I can't tell what this person's motives are, like, who wrote this. I'm not sure if he's being dead serious about making this incredible thing and wanting you to read it, or he's just trolling me and trolling us and just doing whatever. Because, you know, I don't want to be downright and salty, and I don't know this person's motives, but, I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it's silly, of course, because of all the bad grammar and all this other stuff. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about this one, because I'm, again, just rambling, and you guys probably want to see the story, so let's just get this over with, because I gotta finish up that Family Guy video. Hello, I'm Jake, and I know a YouTube channel. It's called Lukinspire. Lukinspire is a guy I know on YouTube. His videos are a bit oh wait, that's right. It was amazing. I think that he is a kid of a kind, like certain YouTubers. So I watched one of his videos so much. I rated a video until I saw one, but it looked weird. It was very creepy looking, but I ignored it. Then it showed us sentences about an alleyway. This is what it said. Wherever were a group of shrubs or an alleyway or a vista of water that we were passing, you would halt before me and stand gazing at my face as though you were showing me possessions of your own. Then it showed Zachary facepalming for about 11 seconds. Then he said this in a G minor voice.
To see someone cry that hard, and to know every single thing about them all the way down to their core, I could never hate someone that way again. It just wouldn't be the same.
Then he said that he had to eat. Then he pulled out a butter knife, and then he screamed,
This is why I've been gone for a while, so don't bother me or pester me about that.
Then the camera fell on the floor. Then he exclaimed, No, 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 no! I was very shocked. Then I said, What's happening? Zachary then looked at the camera and said,
Jake, I will find you and destroy you.
I screamed and ran, and I went to my friend's house and stayed there. Then we went to pick up Jesse from school. Me and Ned were driving through a wooden, empty section of the highway. Sun was shining. The sky went dark blue in the tutorial downpour. We'd better stop, I said. Ned nodded his head in agreement. When he stepped on the brake, the car started to slide on the slick pavement. Then they went off the road and slid to a halt to the bottom of an incline. We fell off the bridge, but we managed to survive. Then we saw him. Luke! We screamed and cried. Then Luke took a crowbar and hit it on my head, bleeding badly. Then I woke up in bed. Then I saw the video, but it was different. It was a corrupted picture of Luke. Then I clicked after a minute or two of this. He just stared at me with his blank eyes. I was about to hit the pause button when he got off the bed and started going for me. I rapidly began to push the pause button, but it wouldn't pause. Then he screamed,
This is it. You are next.
Then the power went out, and I ran for the living room, but Luke caught me and brought me back to my room. But now I will warn everybody about it. Oh no! Oh. Okay, can I stop doing this now? This is starting to hurt my throat. Take a shot for every time someone mentions blood and gore, because not even a minute in, you'll be dead. Hey, just like a story. Maybe that's what it was going for.